The story takes place in June 2015. A girl named Lisa was at the airport, looking around because she was waiting for her friend. Outside, her friend Wade was also waiting for Lisa. He was looking at a map since they were planning to spend their holidays together. Lisa saw Wade and quickly went outside to him. She said, "I'm so sorry, Wade, I'm late." But Wade didn't say anything and walked ahead because he was upset. Lisa kept trying to talk to him and said, "Please don't be mad. Why are you so upset?" After a while, Wade finally calmed down. They got into a taxi and left. At one stop, Wade went inside to rent a car while Lisa waited in the taxi. The driver said to her, "I think your friend is upset with you." Lisa replied, "Yes, he is." The driver smiled and said, "Come on, he's your friend. He'll forgive you. Just talk to him." Lisa smiled, thanked him, and got out of the taxi. Soon, Wade came back with the car. They both got in. Before driving off, Wade entered their destination into the GPS. Lisa asked, "Why are you using the GPS?" Wade said, "Because I don't want to get lost. This will help us find the way." Later, during the trip, Wade gave Lisa a ring and asked her to marry him, but Lisa didn't give an answer right away. She looked sad because she was still thinking, should I marry him or not? 2 weeks later, Wade was going to join the army. Since Lisa hadn't answered him yet, Wade was feeling disappointed. He had hoped she would say yes. Feeling hurt, he left the ring in the car. Lisa saw it and said, "Keep the ring in a safe place." Wade replied angrily, "Why does it matter to you? You don't want to marry me, so it shouldn't mean anything to you?" After that, they continued their journey toward their destination. Their first stop was the Seaside. Wanting to save happy memories with Wade, Lisa started recording videos. But Wade was still upset and said, "Please, Lisa, don't include me in your videos." Lisa tried to cheer him up. "Don't be angry. Just look at this beautiful city. It's amazing. Look, Wade." But Wade just said, "I don't know. I'm driving. You enjoy it." Lisa continued filming the trip, capturing the beautiful views. After a while, they finally reached the Seaside, their first stop. She ran toward the shore and happily called out, "Come on, Wade! Look how beautiful this place is. Wow, I'm so happy we came here." When Wade joined her, they started taking selfies together, but Wade still looked a bit sad. Lisa noticed and gently said, "Wade, I love you so much. Please cheer up. You're leaving in 2 weeks. Let's spend this time happily together." Wade looked at her and finally smiled. "Okay," he said. "You're right." They walked toward the water and started enjoying themselves. They laughed, played, and had a great time. But suddenly, Wade groaned in pain. "Oh God, my leg. It really hurts," he said, holding his leg. Lisa quickly helped him out of the water. She looked at his leg and gasped, "Oh no, Wade, you've been stung by a jellyfish. We need to get out of here right now. There are jellyfish all around." Wade limped as they both hurried out of the water. The wound on his leg was pretty bad, but Wade tried to ignore it, pretending it wasn't serious. The rest of the day passed quietly. That night, they slept in their car under the stars, talking for hours. Lisa brought up a new idea. "Wade, I really want to go to the outback. I've heard amazing things about it. Kangaroos, scary snakes, all sorts of wild animals. It sounds like such an adventure." But Wade, who had already planned their route carefully, shook his head. "It's too risky, Lisa. I don't want to go somewhere completely new. It could be dangerous." Lisa looked at him with hope in her eyes. "But Wade, we're here to enjoy life. We came all this way. I really want to go. Please?" Wade sighed, then smiled softly. "All right, if it makes you happy, we'll go." Wade entered the location of the outback into the GPS. When he saw the time it would take, he was shocked. "Oh, wow," he said. "It's going to take 32 hours to get there." Lisa smiled and said, "Please don't say no. I really want this adventure. It means a lot to me." Wade nodded. "All right, let's do it." Since Wade always liked to be careful, he made a few rules for the journey. First, they wouldn't take any shortcuts or small side roads. They would follow the GPS on the main roads only. Second, if they needed to make a phone call, they would use a public telephone instead of their mobile phones. That way, they could save their phone batteries in case of an emergency. As they reached the long road leading to the outback, their mobile signals disappeared. But Wade had expected this, so he stayed calm and kept driving. It was a long drive, and by the time night fell, they stopped at a hotel to rest. The next morning, Wade and Lisa continued their journey. As they drove, Wade suddenly saw something on the road. "Look, Lisa," he said, "a dead kangaroo." Lisa pointed and said excitedly, "See, Wade, I told you this trip would be full of adventure." Wade nodded. "Yeah, I agree. But if kangaroos are around, we don't know what else could happen." A little while later, the GPS told them to turn onto another road. It was actually a shortcut, but neither of them realized it. The GPS had rerouted them without saying it was a shorter way. Wade, focused on driving and following the GPS, didn't notice. Lisa was asleep at the time, so she had no idea what was happening either. They kept following the route, unaware that they had broken Wade's first GPS rule: no shortcuts. They had already driven a long way when suddenly the GPS said, "Take a U-turn." Lisa woke up and asked, "Wait, a U-turn? Are we going the right way?" At first, Wade thought everything was fine, but then he realized what had happened. The GPS rerouted us. We took a shortcut without meaning to. They pulled over and started to think about what to do. Lisa said, "Let's go back." Wade looked at her surprised. "Lisa, are you serious or are you joking? We've already used up so much gas. There's no choice now. We have to keep going forward." They kept moving along the route, but the GPS kept saying, "Take a U-turn." It was bringing them back again and again. Wade got frustrated. He stopped the car, got out, and looked around. All he could see was empty desert, dry, abandoned, and silent. As he stood there, a black snake slithered near his feet. Wade jumped back and shouted, "Oh God, a snake!" His loud voice woke Lisa, who had been sleeping in the car. She opened the door and called out, "Wade, what are you doing out there? Come back inside. There are probably more snakes around." But Wade didn't come back, so Lisa stepped out too. Wade looked serious. "Lisa, I don't think we should go any further. We've come too far, and we're almost out of fuel. If we keep going, we might get completely stuck." They both thought for a moment. Then Lisa said, "Let's find a high place nearby. Maybe we'll spot a road or a town from there." Wade agreed, and they left the car parked and started walking. But after walking for a long time, night fell. They looked around, but there was still nothing in sight, just more endless desert. They decided to go back to the car, but when they tried to return, they couldn't find it. They had lost their way. Wade's condition began to get worse. The spot on his leg where the jellyfish had stung him was hurting badly, and the wound looked worse than before. He couldn't walk anymore and sat down in pain. Lisa quickly gave him some water, but as she looked through their supplies, she realized something even more worrying. They were running out of food and water. As we know, deserts are wide open and become extremely cold at night. It's hard to survive without warm clothes, and there's always the danger of wild animals. Wade and Lisa had no jackets, no blankets, and nothing to protect them from the cold or from animals. But they had no choice. They had to spend the night out in the open. Somehow, they made it through the night. By morning, Wade's leg was in terrible pain. When he checked it, the wound looked much worse. It was swollen and red, and he could barely move it. Still, they decided to keep going, hoping to find help, or at least their car. They were starving and very thirsty, but the desert sun was rising, and they kept walking, step by step, even as the heat became intense. The whole day passed, but they found nothing. No road, no people, only sand and disappointment. Night came again, and once more they had to sit in the cold darkness, surrounded by wild animals, snakes, and scorpions. They huddled together, trying to stay safe. As they sat quietly, Lisa looked at Wade and softly asked, "Will you marry me?" Wade looked at her with tired eyes and whispered, "Yes, I still want to marry you. I love you." They shared this moment, full of pain and love, then slowly fell asleep under the stars. But that night was worse than any before. Snakes slithered nearby. Scorpions crawled in the sand. One particularly dangerous scorpion climbed onto Lisa. It crawled across her body and slipped inside her clothes. The next morning, Wade woke up first. He reached over to wake Lisa, but she wasn't moving. "Lisa?" he called gently. "Hey, wake up!" But she didn't respond. Wade sat up, worried. "Lisa, come on, wake up!" Still nothing. Now panicking, he shook her. "Lisa, please! Wake up!" Her face was pale, too pale. Her body was still. Wade saw the sting mark and realized what had happened. The scorpion had bitten her during the night. "No, no, no, no!" he cried, tears running down his face. "Please don't leave me!" Heartbroken and shaking, Wade picked Lisa up in his arms, resting her on his shoulder. Even with his injured leg, he forced himself to walk forward, hoping, praying, begging for help to appear in the middle of the endless desert. Wade's own condition was getting worse, but he didn't stop. Step by step, he kept moving forward through the desert, carrying Lisa and calling out loudly for help. But no one was there to hear him. Lisa still wasn't waking up, and that was breaking Wade more and more inside. He kept trying to bring her back, shaking her gently, splashing water on her face, whispering her name, but nothing worked. Sometimes he carried her on his shoulder. Other times he dragged her with all the strength he had left. At one point, overwhelmed with pain and helplessness, Wade dropped to the ground and started digging the sand in frustration, shouting out in anger and despair. Finally, exhausted and dehydrated, Wade collapsed and passed out. After a while, he heard a sound that slowly brought him back to consciousness. His eyes fluttered open, and above him, a helicopter flew across the sky. Hope rushed through him. Wade stood up as fast as he could, tore off his shirt, and began waving it wildly in the air. He shouted with all his strength, hoping someone would see him from above. But the helicopter flew on and disappeared into the distance. Wade dropped to his knees, heartbroken and weak. But then an idea came to him. He grabbed a stone and began writing large letters in the sand. SOS. He made it big enough that it could be seen from the sky, just in case another helicopter passed by. But he was desperate for water. His mouth was dry, his lips cracked, and every step felt heavier than the last. He knew if he didn't drink something soon, he would die. With no water left, he decided to drink his own urine to survive, but he had no bottle or container. So he took a stick and drew a long line in the sand, his trail, so he wouldn't get lost while he went searching for something to hold the liquid. Leaving Lisa under the SOS sign, Wade followed the line into the desert. Not long after he left, Lisa began to wake up. Her eyes slowly opened. She looked around confused. "Wade," she whispered, but he wasn't there. She sat up slowly and called out, "Wade! Wade, where are you?" There was no answer. Panicked, she looked at her shoulder. It was swollen and bruised, with a deep red wound from the scorpion sting. Her arm wouldn't move. It was numb and stiff with pain. As Wade walked further into the desert, he found his bag. Inside it was a bottle. He used it to collect his urine so he could drink it and stay alive. He also saved some for Lisa, hoping it would help her survive too. Following the line he had drawn in the sand with a stick, he began heading back to where he had left Lisa. Meanwhile, Lisa was terrified. She didn't know where Wade had gone, and being alone scared her even more. She got up and started walking, calling out for him, but she was in such a weak condition, her voice was barely coming out. Still, with the sounds of wild animals around her, she kept moving forward in fear. By the time Wade returned to the spot where he had left her, it was already night. But Lisa wasn't there. Panic took over. He shouted loudly, "Lisa, where are you? Can you hear me? Please, say something." Lisa heard his voice in the distance. She called back, "Wade, I hear you. Where are you? It's so dark I can't see anything." They both started looking for each other in the dark desert, calling out again and again. But after searching for a long time without success, both of them grew too weak. Exhausted and helpless, they collapsed and passed out. The next morning, Lisa woke up. Her body felt weak, her throat was dry, and her lips were cracked. She was extremely thirsty. It had now been 3 days since they got lost, and Lisa hadn't had a single drop of water. Desperate to survive, she crawled to nearby bushes and trees. She began sucking on the leaves and branches, hoping to get even a little bit of water to stay alive. Wade also woke up, but something about him seemed off. His mind was starting to break down. He looked confused, like he wasn't thinking clearly anymore. He drank his urine again to stay alive. Then, forcing himself to stand up, he began walking forward. Eventually, he reached a fork in the path. 2 directions lay ahead. He picked one and followed it. After walking for a while, he saw something in the distance. His car. A spark of hope lit up in him. "Thank God," he said. "All this walking finally paid off." He rushed to the car and opened the door. He began searching everywhere for food, hoping to find something, anything to eat, but there was nothing inside. Only a lighter. Disappointed and heartbroken, he sat quietly in the car. Then he tried to start it, but the engine didn't turn on. That's when he remembered. He had left the headlights on before they went walking. The car battery was now completely dead. Wade lost control. He slammed the steering wheel, hit the dashboard, and pounded the seat in frustration. "All of this for nothing," he muttered. He got out of the car, too weak to do anything else, and collapsed on the ground beside it. Then he made a terrible decision. He opened the bonnet, the cover of the engine, and began drinking the water inside. It wasn't clean water. It was mixed with chemicals, almost like petrol. But he was desperate. His breathing became heavy. He started coughing, feeling sick, but he kept drinking. Why? Because he wanted to produce more urine, to collect and save it for Lisa, so she could drink it and survive. Even though it was dangerous, even though it could kill him, he did it for her. After that, he stumbled away from the car into the dark desert night. He started shouting again, his voice cracked and weak. "Lisa! Lisa!" He searched everywhere, calling out her name again and again, but there was still no sign of her. Lisa was sitting alone in one spot when she noticed something. Her phone still had a little bit of battery left, so she recorded a message for Wade, hoping he would see it if anything happened. Meanwhile, Wade was in terrible pain from drinking the engine water. His stomach hurt badly, and he was starting to feel really cold. Shivering and weak, he lay down, trying to bear the pain. Using the lighter he had, made a small fire to protect himself from the cold night air. The next morning, when Lisa woke up, she was starving and very thirsty. In desperation, she tried to eat grass again to survive, but it didn't work. She soon felt sick and started throwing up. As she lay there feeling hopeless, she noticed something on the ground, a line in the sand. Looking closer, she realized it was the same line Wade had drawn with a stick to find his way back. Her heart filled with hope. This must be Wade's path, she thought. Without wasting time, she stood up and began following the line. After walking for a while, she finally found Wade, lying on the ground down in very bad shape. She rushed to him and hugged him tightly. Lisa held him close, trying to take care of him and give him strength. Over and over, she kept asking, "Are you okay, Wade? Are you okay?" Even though he was in pain, Wade smiled weakly and said, "Yes, I'm fine. Thank God you found me. I thought I'd never see you again." Then his eyes filled with tears. "Lisa, I'm sorry. This is all my fault. I made the mistake that got us stuck here." Lisa gently said, "Wade, don't blame yourself. Please be quiet. Everything will be okay. We'll go to the car together. Just stay strong." She laid her head on his chest and rested beside him. But inside she was scared because she saw blood coming from Wade's mouth. Wade reached into his bag and handed her the bottle of urine he had collected. Lisa looked confused and asked, "What is this, Wade? Why are you giving it to me?" Wade, struggling to speak, replied, "This is for you. Drink it. It's the only way you'll survive. I saved it for you with great difficulty. If anything happens to me, follow the line I made in the sand. It leads to the car. Can you do that? I believe in you." Lisa's eyes filled with tears. She held his hand tightly and cried, "No, Wade, I'm not leaving without you. Don't say things like that. Please don't." But then Wade suddenly started vomiting. Lisa panicked and held him close, crying harder. "Help! Somebody help, please!" She screamed into the empty desert. Wade was shaking. His body was getting colder. Lisa leaned closer, holding his face in her hands. "I love you, Wade. I love you so much. We're going to get out of here. We'll get married just like we said. Please, say something, please." But Wade didn't respond. Lisa tried to wake him up again and again, but he was gone. He had taken his last breath in her arms. Lisa broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. Her screams echoed through the desert. She was completely shattered. Her heart felt like it had been ripped apart. She sat beside his body all night, too tired and broken to move. The next day, with tears in her eyes and pain in her soul, she did what Wade had asked. With great courage, she drank the urine he had saved for her because she wanted to live. And then she stood up. She wiped her tears, looked at the sky, and whispered, "I will live, Wade. I'll make it out. For you. Your sacrifice won't be wasted." With great struggle, Lisa finally reached the car. Exhausted, she opened the door and immediately found Wade's wedding ring. Holding it in her hands, she broke down in tears, remembering all the precious moments they had shared. Suddenly, the most dangerous snake in the desert slithered into the car. It slowly climbed onto Lisa, wrapping around her legs and arms, making its way toward her neck. Lisa sat frozen, knowing even the slightest movement could mean death. She stayed completely still, barely breathing, until the snake finally slid away. Once it was gone, Lisa quietly got out of the car, locking the door behind her. She collapsed on the ground, clutching Wade's ring, the last memory she had of him, and slipped it onto her finger. That night, she lay under the open sky, watching videos of their journey together, lost in memories of Wade. By morning, Lisa was so weak she could hardly move. She felt herself slipping away until someone suddenly gave her water. When she opened her eyes, she thought she saw Wade, but it was actually a rescue officer. He had seen the large SOS sign Wade had made and had come to help. He gently lifted Lisa and carried her to safety. Wade's sacrifice had not been in vain. His body was recovered and returned to his family. The report confirmed that he had died from kidney failure, caused by drinking engine water in his desperate attempt to survive and save Lisa. Later, Lisa began working at a nursing school, determined to rebuild her life and honor Wade's memory. The film ends with a quiet but powerful message, a story of love, sacrifice, survival, and starting over.